Hi, this is Brian with ActiveMelody.com. Well, this week we have an awesome blues composition that you can play by yourself. This is an original thing that I wrote this week. I love these standalone blues compositions, and I know that a lot of you do too. That's why I keep writing them and creating them, because I get a lot of feedback. And it's just a great way to learn, because not only do you have something that you can play and perform for other people, but you're also picking up all the licks and learning how to play chord changes. And so it's really killing two birds with one stone. This is something that works well on an acoustic or electric guitar, so you can play it with anything that you've got. And I am playing it with a pick, so it's not played finger style. So I've got the lesson split into two parts. In this video, we'll look at the first half. If you'd like to watch the second half and download the tablature for this and access the on-screen tab viewer, you can get those things by going to ActiveMelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page, and search for EP307. Alright, so grab your guitar and follow along with me in the course of this video. You're going to understand at least how to play through the first half of all of this. And we're going to start off by talking about the chord structure for this. I think it's always a good idea to do that, to understand the parameters. You've never heard this song before. I just wrote it, so this will be new for everybody. But once you understand the chords of a song, especially a new song you've never heard before, it starts to make a lot more sense as to why the licks that you're playing, why they work. So I'm going to start off by talking, well, first of all, the song is in the key of A. And so our one chord is an A chord. And then the next chord is the 5 chord. So we're going from the 1 to the 5. So that would be an E. A to E. And then we go to the 6th chord, which is a minor chord. So that'll be your F sharp minor. And then we go to the 4 chord, which is your D. Or your D7, I think is how I played it. So you have 1, 5, 6, 4. And then back to the 1, back to the 5, back to the 1, back to the 5. That's your typical turnaround there. And that's the format for the verse that we're going to be playing over. Now, if you don't understand what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the numbers, I did a whole lesson on that a while ago. You can go to ActiveMelody.com, go to the lessons page, and do a search in the search box for 237, number 237, or EP237, and go to about 2.5 minutes into that video, and I explain the number system in detail. All right, so the first lick that's played goes like this. Isn't that nice sounding? Very cool. Very kind of got a B.B. King kind of feel. Now, let me talk through this and relate it back to a pattern that we all know, which is pattern 1 of the minor pentatonic scale. That's where my brain goes when it comes to blues, at least as a starting point, and then I like to branch out from there. But since we're playing over the 1 chord, which is your A, if I were to make an A major bar chord and bar here on the 5th fret, this would be my root fret. And so if I were to play pattern 1 of the minor pentatonic scale, now most of us are familiar with that. So the first note that I played, I slid in with my ring finger to the 7th fret 5th string. That's right in that minor pentatonic scale. And then the next note is the 4th fret 4th string. Now I'll explain that note in just a minute. I realize that's out of the box there, out of the pattern 1, but just bear with me. So then we go to the 7th fret 4th string. And then the next thing is this, which is I always call this or think of this as build a chord, because really what you're doing is you're building the A chord. But to do that, I'm going to bar the first 4 strings on the 5th fret, and I'm going to play the open A string, which is the open 5th string, 5, 4, and 3, and then I'm going to hammer on, after I play it, with my middle finger to the 6th fret 3rd string. So you have, and really all that is your A7 chord that you've just built. That's why I call it build a chord. I don't know, it's kind of a weird name. But anyway, and then after that you're going to do an upstroke on the 2nd string. So practice that first, and when I played that 7th fret 5th string, I slid into it. So you go, do it again. Now that's an awesome lick, even if you learn nothing else. If you're playing in the key of A, you can use that quite a bit. Now I did mention this 4th fret, and I said I would come back to that. That's in the major pentatonic scale, pattern 1. So really what I'm doing is I'm kind of blending the minor pentatonic scale with the major pentatonic scale, and everybody does that. That's a common thing to do. I did a whole lesson on that, by the way, EP307, if you want to go check that out. This is really the lesson of like past referrals. This is kind of cool. Okay, so that note then is in major pentatonic scale pattern 1. So if you think of minor pentatonic scale, the one that we just went through, if you take that and you slide it down 1, 2, 3 frets, there's that note. It's in major pentatonic scale pattern 1 for A. Okay, so that's why that note works. So backing up, and then after that, there's a muted downstroke, and then I went and came down and just gave it a little bit of a rhythm quality there. So I came down and basically played an A chord by barring the first 4 strings on the 2nd fret, but I didn't start with the A. I started with the D, and then came into the A. And that's that Keith Richards move, where you go from the 1 to the 4 chord. But what I'm doing to start then is I go ahead and do the bar, but I've got my middle finger on the 3rd fret, 2nd string, my ring finger on the 4th fret, 4th string, and I'm playing strings 5, 4, 3, and 2. And then after that chord, I go ahead and take my middle finger and ring finger off and play the A chord, which is, you leave the bar down behind that chord. So you have, so if I were to back up now and play up to that point, you have 1, 2, 3. All right, you can start to feel a little bit of something forming. And it starts to really make sense once we play this. Now remember, we're going from the 1 chord to the 5 chord, so now we're going to the E chord. And this is a great little lick here to get you from the 1 to the 5 chord. Let me explain how to do it. It's super easy. Now I use my ring finger and my middle finger for this. My ring finger's on the 6th fret 3rd string, my middle finger's on the 5th fret 2nd string. And if you want to think about an easier way to think about that, that's just in your A major bar chord, strings 2 and 3. We don't need the whole chord, we're just grabbing those 2 notes out of it, a little harmonized 3rd. And I slid into it, and then slid it down 2 frets. Down 1, down another. You could pick those if you want, but I think it sounds somehow more organic to slide it. And then once I get down there, I'm going to hit the open 6th string. Now why that? Why does that work? Well, all you're doing, if you think about your E7 chord, or actually even easier, think about this little E7 triad. Remember, we're going to the E chord, we're going to the 5 chord. Well, look at this E7 chord here. This is like if you took the D7 chord and you slid it up 2 frets. And if I played strings 2 and 3, that's those same notes. So we're going from here to here. You can remember this going forward. If you're ever going from the 1 chord to the 5 chord, you can always walk it down 2 frets right there, and you're playing a dominant 7 of the 5 chord. Alright, so after I walk down and hit the open E string, then I went. So while that note's ringing, I can take my hand off the fretboard and put it back down here and make an E chord. And you can see all I'm doing is taking my index finger and hammering it on. And then an upstroke on the 1 string. Alright, let's back it up from the beginning. Let me show you how to count this in too, by the way. It comes in on the and of 3. So if we were counting it, we'd say 1 and 2 and 3 and. So it comes on the and of 3. So you have 1 and 2 and 3. Now after that, I hit the 6th string again, and then watch this. That's how I'm getting into that F sharp minor chord. Now what I'm thinking about is I'm thinking about an F sharp minor, and I'm thinking about this pattern 1 of the minor pentatonic scale for F sharp. It happens to be the same exact shape as the major pentatonic scale for A. Listen to that. Happy, right? Now listen to the same notes in contrast with this. Here Hear the difference? Same notes, completely colored differently depending on the chord underneath it. So then, to get into that F sharp minor chord, I went into that F sharp minor pentatonic scale and played a few notes, which led me into that. So that's why that works. And you could play any notes out of the F sharp minor pentatonic scale, and that would work. So think about that. That's a little project for you to work on. You can throw in whatever lick you want there. For any of this, by the way. Now that you know the chords, you can put in your own licks. That's the beauty of this. And once you get to that level, you're writing your own music. And it's not that far if you can understand, just this basic stuff. Okay, so I'm going to start here on the 4th fret, 3rd string, and slide up to the 6th fret. And then back to the 4th fret, 3rd string, 2nd fret, 3rd string. And then that's a quick jump from the 2nd fret, 3rd string to the 4th fret, 4th string. Now while that's ringing out, I go ahead and make the bar there on the 2nd fret so that I can play the chord, the F sharp minor chord. And the F sharp minor chord it's the same as an E minor chord. You know how to make an E minor chord. You just slide those 2 fingers up 2 frets and then you bar, just like the bar here, or the nut. And that would be in, I have another lesson on that for this little sidebar. It's on the cage system for the minor pentatonic. I can't remember, EP307, I believe. Okay. So there's your F sharp minor. And then it goes to the D7, and all I did was walked up. Actually a very easy way to get to it. Just walking up chromatically. Starting there on the 2nd fret, 5th string, then we go to the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th fret. It's all on that same 5th string. Now you're going to want to make sure to use your ring finger once you get to the 5th fret, 5th string, so that you can play, the other fingers can fall into place and play that D7 chord. That chord shape is the same as, think of a C chord down in 1st position. If you were to put your pinky down on the 3rd fret, 3rd string, that's a C7 chord. You just slide that up 2 frets. And then you're playing a D7 chord. Okay, so let's back it up from the beginning now. I'll play through it slowly and play us up to that point. 1 and 2 and 3. And then we go back to the same way that we started. So this is all the same. Nothing has changed there. But then after that, I'm going to put my ring finger down on the 7th fret, 3rd string. And then we're going to go back to that hammer-on. So let's back it up. We have. And then I'm going to put my ring finger down on the 7th fret, 4th string. So let me play that again. Now after that I played. So after that 7th fret 4th string, my middle finger goes down on the 7th fret 5th string, index finger on the 5th fret 4th string, and then ring finger back down on the 7th fret 5th string so that I can play. That's your E7 chord. Remember, we just played the D7 chord using the same shape. And I've said this in several lessons, but you can always do the same thing you do over the 4 chord by just sliding everything up 2 frets, and then that will count as your 5 chord. It works the opposite way as well. If you want to do something from the 5 to the 4 chord, you can, whatever you're doing over the 5 chord, you can go down 2 frets this way and do the same thing, and it'll work over the 4 chord. Okay, so we have. And it's right on the beat. Now after that, open 6th string, and then I played. So that's your E7 chord, and I'm going to go ahead and make sure I hit that top, the 1 string, the top E string, while these notes, while I walk it down. So that would be the 5th fret 2nd string, 4th fret 2nd string, 3rd fret 2nd string. but I'm hitting the 1 string open as well, because we're playing over the 5 chord at this point. And the 5 chord is an E chord, and that open string is an E note. So anything I play, I can use that E string along with it. And it's going to work. It's going to make sense in context. So we have, and then open 1 string with an upstroke, and then a little triplet there. And I'm doing a slide from the 1st fret to the 2nd fret on the 2nd string, back to the open 1 string, and then to the open 5th string, because now we're going back to the 1 chord, or the A. So you have, okay, and then I play this, kind of more of a piano style lick, but all I'm doing is I'm barring the first 3 strings on the 5th fret, and I'm thinking about this, I'm just playing this A triad. It's the top part of this bar chord. All I need is strings 1 and 3 out of that chord. So I'm barring the first 2 strings, I should say, on the 5th fret, and then I've got my middle finger on the 6th fret 3rd string. Now I'm hybrid picking, so I'm picking on the 3rd string with my pick, and then I'm using my ring finger to pluck on the 1st string. And then watch this. So you can see all that's happening is this note is going from the 6th fret to the 7th fret to the 8th fret to the 9th fret, while I hold down that 5th fret 1st string underneath it. So that's a bit of a stretch there, and some people may want to use your pinky for that if that's easier, but I just find it easier to keep my ring finger in place. And then back to your E7 chord. Okay, let's back it up from the beginning now and play all through that first half. 1 and 2 and 3. So many takeaways in this. If you learn nothing else but this, that's huge. You can use that in every turnaround you do going forward in any key. You could play it in any key. Okay, so now the song repeats. So we go back to the A. I wanted to do something a little different this time to give you some more ideas. So I came down here and played. And all I'm doing is I'm barring and playing the A chord on the 2nd fret, barring the first 4 strings. While I've got the bar down, I've got my ring finger up here on the 5th fret 3rd string. And actually for that first thing, I'm only barring the first 3 strings because I can't reach. But I've got my 5th fret 3rd string with my ring finger, and then the 2nd fret 2nd string. And then I take this off and play the 2nd fret 3rd string. So ring finger goes down to the 4th fret 4th string. And then we go down to the bottom part of that A chord, which would be the power chord. So that would be the open 5th string and then the 2nd fret 4th string. And then you're going to play that again, and then play the 3rd fret 5th string, 4th fret 5th string. So, and then we come back to the 2nd fret 4th string. So let's put it all in context. So we'll come from here. So now if you want to know more about that, that's just the major pentatonic scale pattern 1. But if I slide up 1 where I started that and then play that note, that would be in the minor pentatonic scale. So it's kind of a clash. You have the minor pentatonic scale note and then your major pentatonic scale back to back. And you hear that in a lot of bluegrass, and I got that from Doc Watson from some of the stuff he does. It's a little different. He's using open strings, but I love the sound of that. And then after that, we're going to the 5 chord, remember? Now I'm doing a slide with my ring finger from the 3rd fret, 5th string, up to the 4th fret, again. And then I've got my index finger going down on the 4th fret, 2nd string, again. But now we're going to play the open E string, or the 6th string. And then after that, I'm going to go ahead and, while that's ringing out, and play the E chord again, just like we did the first time, where I do a hammer-on with my index finger to that 1st fret, 3rd string. Okay, now we're going to go back to the F sharp minor chord. And all I'm doing there is, while I've got the E chord down, I went ahead and played the 4th string. My ring finger's already there in the E chord. So I'm just playing that note, and I walk it up. And so I'm not playing the full bar chord this time. I'm just playing the first 4 strings of it. So I'm playing the 4th fret, 4th string, and then I go ahead and bar the first 3 strings with my index finger here on the 2nd fret. So we have. Now after that, it's the same kind of thing we already did, that same stretch. I'm just repeating that lick. So I've got my ring finger back here on the 5th fret, 3rd string, and then my index finger is up here on the 2nd fret, 2nd string. Then 2nd fret, 3rd string. Ring finger goes down on the 4th fret, 4th string. So we have. And then we go back to the 2nd fret, 3rd string. Now I can take my hand off and play the open D string, because this is where the song goes to the D chord. Remember the first time we did it like this. Now we're going. And I'm going to go ahead and play a D7 chord again, just like we did the first time, but this time I'm making it down here in 1st position. So I've got my middle finger and my ring finger on the 2nd fret, strings 1 and 3, and my index finger is on the 1st fret, 2nd string. So now that's a lot of information. Let me back up from the turnaround chord and play up to that point. So after that, I play the D sharp diminished 7, which is a transition chord to get us back to the 1 chord. And all I'm doing for that is I'm just playing that chord here. I've got my middle finger and my ring finger, my pinky on strings 1 and 3 on the 5th fret, and then middle finger and index finger are on the 4th fret, strings 2 and 4. And then after the diminished chord, I played going back to the 1 chord. So all I was thinking about was the 1 chord, which is these 2 notes, which we already did the first time. I was just coming into them, sliding those in. And remember, those are just 2 notes out of that major bar chord there for A. So I just went. So I started there on the 7th fret, 4th string, and then the 4th fret, 3rd string, and then my middle finger goes down on the 5th fret, 3rd string, but my index finger goes down on the 4th fret, 2nd string. So you have, so that I can slide in to that A chord, right? And then ring finger down on the 7th fret, 2nd string, and we're going to do the same slide. We're just going to repeat it. All right, so that was the 1 chord. Then after that, it goes to the 5 chord, and then for that, I played this walk down. And so it's the 5th fret, 7th fret on the 2nd string, and then I'm gonna come up here to this chord shape. I'm just thinking about the E chord, playing this chord shape. So think about your A chord shape, but playing the E chord. If I were to play the top part of that, actually all I need are strings 1 and 2, this little harmonized 3rd. So backing up, we have, and then 5th fret, 7th fret, and then go ahead and slide up one with your ring finger on the 8th fret 2nd string. Your index finger goes down on the 6th fret 1st string, and then you slide into that chord shape. So your ring finger is now on the 9th fret 2nd string, and your index finger is on the 7th fret 1st string. So you have. Now once you get to that chord shape, as soon as I slid into that, I hit the 6th string along with it. So you have. I didn't do that very well. Let me try that again. Like that. So they're happening at the same time. That slide is happening at the same time you hit the E string. Now after that, let me show you this. So we're going to play the strings in this, they're going to be triplets, and we're going to play 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2. So those are the string numbers. 2, 1, 2, slide it down 2 frets, 2, 1, 2. And then we're going to change the shape, 2, 1, 2. So you can see the shape is now that. And all I'm doing in my head is I'm thinking of the E chord. That's the same E chord shape, or it's the D chord shape out of Caged. But if you slide your D chord up 2 frets, you're now playing an E chord. So you have. Okay, now after that, I go down to the D7 chord, and I played strings 1, 2, 3. So you have, and then I can hit the open 5th string for the A. All right. That's probably a good stopping point for this video. There's a whole second half, and I'm going to save that for premium members for the second video. But you've got a lot of information to digest in this lesson. Let me back up then, and I'm going to play through this whole first half one more time slowly, and then I'll see you in part 2, and we'll go over the second half. And remember, as a premium member, you can download the tablature and access the on-screen tab viewer, which you can slow down and go through your playback as well. It's a great way to learn. All right, so let's take it from the beginning. 1, 2, 3. All right. We'll see you in part 2 to learn the rest of it.